Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 is a worthy adaptation of an iconic story arc in the history of the DC Universe. Here, we're going to put the two side by sides to compare the source material to the animated adaptation and highlight the key points covered in Part 1. We're going to do this in comic book order. As you may have noticed, the film has switched the timeline ever so slightly. Whilst in the film we spend quite a bit of time getting to know Earth 3, which is home to the crime syndicate, we are thrown straight into their demise in the comic books. Here we can see the moment Ultraman and his team accept their fate in both comics and in animation. This is a key point in both adaptations as it acts as the first world to be shown in full to be destroyed, featuring characters we know and love to hate. In the comics, the Flash isn't the key focus in terms of creating an emotional story, and instead we see him first appear in different timelines trying to warn the heroes of that particular universe. In the film, there's more of a narrative behind the Flash, adding to the emotion of the film, but his purpose still remains the same. He is the main warning. Next up is Harbinger, summoning the finest heroes from each Earth. Whilst the individual characters shown in the comic versus the adaptation are different, the premise remains the same. Now this one is a similarity and also a very big difference. In the comics we see Pariah as the one to endure these billions of deaths over and over again as he's thrust from Earth to Earth, and that is his punishment for his actions. Again, though the premise is still the same, we are teased that this character is none other than John Constantine in the film, but there are still some clear similarities. With the Flash popping to and from different Earths, we get to see him truly realise what's going on as the Wall of Crisis, as I like to call it, draws closer and closer. Then the fight between Pariah and Karak, aka Lord Volt, where we see Karak lose his powers after coming into contact with Pariah. In the animated film, this sudden drawback comes thanks to Amazo, who is being controlled by Lex Luthor. Here, he takes the powers of Superman and others as he declares wars on aliens of Earth, just like Lord Volt does after detecting non-human activity. Next, we see the creation of the Towers, which is their first attempt at saving the multiverse in both comics and in film. We see Dawnstar defend them in the comics as the heroes of that Earth see them as a threat and try to destroy their only hope, whereas in the film they are all fully aware of what's going on and they are actually all involved in the creation of it. The murder of the Monitor. Just like the comics, Harbinger isn't quite herself, and instead of obeying the orders of the Monitor, she murders him. So far, in both parts, we do not know why, but I am looking forward to seeing how they play this out in the animated film. And finally, the realisation that their efforts did not work as multiple Earths continue to be destroyed despite their best efforts. Here we see all of the characters in their true realisation of destruction. For those that have seen Part 1, there are so many similarities, but they are ever so slightly different in terms of the characters that are portrayed. Those changes do make sense, as this three-part animation does act as the final finale of the DCAU as we know it, and acts as a farewell to these character portrayals. So of course they are going to use as many of them as possible to tell this story. As well as similarities, there are also some vast changes. I won't go into detail as these things may pay off in upcoming parts, but some of the aspects from issues 1 to 4 I would have liked to see come to fruition are the introduction of Lois and Lex Luthor's ever-aging child despite his fate in the animated film, a little bit more of emotion between Superman, Supergirl and Starfire, knowing that they may be facing yet another world loss. We saw Supergirl lose Brainiac in Part 1, but not come face to face with the fact that she's going through the same ordeal that she did when Krypton was destroyed, and the same goes for Superman and Starfire. And with the Earths dwindling down, I would like to see more of a focus on the other heroes and their respective Earths. It would seem like a lost opportunity if we didn't get to see the characters from other adaptations appear, like Superman Red Sun and the Doom That Game to Gotham. Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 is available to buy physically and digitally right now, with Parts 2 and 3 expected to release later this year.